Like rap is taking who you are and make it a superhero. Whether you are Kanye West who did Jesus Walks, he took Jesus and made it poppin'. I just think that's why he's so big. Rap is not following what's poppin'. Rap is taking you and making it poppin'. Okay, hi, my name is Troy Dunnit. I'm an MC out of Montreal, Canada. I've been doing music for a very long time. I've done work with A-Track, Maestro Fresh West, Solitaire. I mean, probably just about a good who's list of top Canadian artists in this country. I'm of Haitian descent. My mother and father are the only ones who came to Montreal. The rest of my family was in Boston, moved to Boston and New York. So I think it's an important piece of my story because I've always been like we had no cousins here, right? So I used to always go to New York and Boston twice a year, see the family. And I used to look up to my cousins. There was so much love. They were Haitian like me, but they were, they were right where it was at. So they gave me my first rap tapes. First time I heard Jay-Z, I remember it was my cousin who gave me, I think it was a tape at the time, 96. So it's important to see the connection of Haitian and Montreal, but even though I'm Haitian, I speak more English than French. The first rap song that I repeated, so I guess the first time I saw myself in an MC position was probably Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. Like I performed that Biggie song on stage. And it was like, not my song, but that was the first time I performed. Beyond that, I wanna say it's my homies. My homies were into it and you wanna fit in too. So I got into it then.
Far ahead of y'all, distant, different. Started way back, more persistent. Hands on your girl's ass.
So I lived in Chamonix-Laval, which is a suburb in Montreal, which is mostly new immigrants. You would have Greek people, but it wasn't a lot of Haitians. So I met a lot of dudes out there that I was cool with, but none of them looked like me. Later on, I moved to NDG. And NDG was the same thing, a lot of English, Caribbean. And once again, I was often the only Haitian. So even though I speak Creole and French, I also, rapping in English was not a random thing for me. Often I've heard, maybe you should try French, especially in Montreal. The scene is more open to that. But my story is a little bit more West Side Montreal. So I think one of the major hurdles with being an Anglophone artist in Quebec is the fact that it's not the main language spoken in Quebec. Like hip hop in Quebec today is way more Francophone because people want to hear themselves in their own story, in their own language. But for us, hip hop was not global to the point where we felt like it was a Montreal identity to rap. We were just part of that culture, part of that New York, LA, worldly rap culture, but we happened to be from Montreal. My first solo record, solo video was with Lotus. We did a video called New Flavor. And it played on Much Music, like, I don't say all day, but it was on Rap City consistently. Meanwhile, Music Plus, I messaged them, emailed them, I had to write emails, didn't get any responses. So I was kind of comfortable with the idea of chasing the world scene versus chasing the Montreal scene. We doubt ourselves. I think Quebec doubts ourselves. We were like, yo, English rapper, like I think in our own minds, it wasn't something that we could really grasp or connect with. When I first got into rap, my style was way more like the rappers that I listened to. So I listened to a song called Super Rappin', and I thought at the time I sounded like Jay-Z. I was a big fan, and I personally think I sounded like him. I always did me, which was usually punchlines. I want you to listen to my work. I want you as a rapper to wish you wrote that. My actual first rap group was Chromeo's Dave One. We went to school together, and it was, white Jewish dude and Haitian dude, and we were rapping. His younger brother, A-Track, he convinced him to just stay in the basement and just practice. So Obscure Disorder was my first story. Like I didn't really rap 3 years before that. So A-Track being the world champion DJ around us, it never felt like something to be, chest out about, because he was so humble about it. He was the world champion DJ and we almost forgot. Like years later, I'm like, I forget who I was around. We got into, I forget if it was Double XL or The Source. I forget, it's one of the two. We got into Double XL or The Source. And that that probably felt like the biggest moment, just because we all grew up, Super Nintendo, like reading Word Up magazine, you know what I'm saying? Those magazines that were staples of the culture at the time. To me, the only way music success was achieved is with, the top of the top. At 21, I realized I felt like Montreal had a ceiling for me. So I moved to New York. I moved to New York and I got caught up in life.
5/85. Narcy Nars. Dunnit.
Okay, Porter, I give up.
You 85, a part of the 5. The 10 run things. You living life or are you alive? There's two different things. It's rap shit.
New York ain't a cheap city. You understand if you make it there, you can make it anywhere. But I got caught up in life shit. And I started living and getting a little bit, I was doing less music. And around that time, we kind of all had separated paths. So A-Track went more into his DJing. I think he started working with Kanye at the time. Dave One and those guys started getting into funk. So I think moving to New York and life kind of distracted me. I was more concerned with living the life of a rapper, which was my life. I was chilling, I was out there, I was living, even more than doing the songs. So I kind of got distracted by life, especially when I moved. Ironically, I moved to New York for music and I got distracted with life. I had no papers. Like, I'm a hustler, but at a young age, I wasn't much of a thinker. So when I moved there, it was, a couple grand in my pockets and stayed on my cousin's couch. Thank God for Betty. And life got in the way, man. It's an expensive city. I got distracted also. Some cuties out there in New York. And I was young, but everything happens for a reason. And I was meant to live. Because when I write music, it's all based off life. So I think I needed that experience. Like, living 6 years with no papers. Wrote a song called Gangsters. Like, I literally don't give names out there, and I'm talking about how I was there with no papers. I had to go to banks to get checks or fake IDs. This is way too much, but it's 20 years later. I'm not gonna incriminate myself. I got back to music when, got separated from my ex, was, alone in the house, missed my kids, they weren't around me anymore, and art was my outlet.
You a numbers guy, I'm trying to hold the cup high. Davidson, Curry, McCullum, and Lahai. Been nice since baggy suits and fat ties, Fab Five.
So what I mean about my music being real, when I started doing music, it was about battle rapping because that's what was popping at the time and that's where I fit in terms of my personality. The last record I did was called Anti-Cupid. I had an interlude where at the time I lived in a duplex where the landlord lived downstairs. I was doing some funny things upstairs with some friends, female friend, whatever. It was loud and she called me, there's noise in the, what are you doing there? It's 5 a.m. That was my last record. And then my next record, 10 years later, is called After Love. Man, mildly broken, missing his kids, coming to grasp with the fact that his baby mama and him, it's all right. I'm not afraid to live my emotions. I think hip hop is very brave and very aggressive and very, hold your nuts. But I think hip hop is real. First thing though, that I can think of that felt special is when we did a tour. So I think that's what it was. It makes sense, we were about 17, we were on tour, we went to the UK, did about 4 shows. I've done music with Maestro Fresh West, who's the first artist to go gold and platinum. I don't walk around chest out. I've done work with Mocha only, and these guys reached out to me. Like Maestro reached out to me on MySpace. Mocha reached out to me on Instagram. If you want to be the big fish in a small pond, that's on you. I've always understood that the pond that I wanted was the only pond, hip hop, where it's at. So to me, I look at Drake, and to me, whether you like the music or not, which I'm a fan of, he's a lyricist, he changed the dream of Canadian artists forever. Like I was in New York being from Montreal where they were like, oh, all right, where you from? Okay, all right. Like it always felt like being from Montreal was a little bit of a, something missing in your rap story. There's no mistakes, God makes no mistakes. I was supposed to live this life. I was supposed to take all these years to make it. I was supposed to. I was supposed to take that time and whenever I wasn't writing, and I would have told young me, write more, sit in the studio, don't go on that date, save your money, shoot a video.
Never asked for money. Used to rock the Nefertiti, now I drop real jewelry, just give me opportunity. Yeah. Hand to hand is the lowest level. I can't teach you how to fish, but I'll bring you to the water, bro. I'll give you opportunity. Yeah. I told Crucial, long as I'm alive, we gon' be live. No, I knock it out the park, but I covered all the bases. I run all the guys. Points to points, right? Half the payroll, twice the fight. It's nothing is light. We've been through bloodier fights. Darker nights was an NY ducking ice. Real life, college dropout, school of life. If you ain't make it or they gave it, we are not alike. Nah, quick to strike, give me daylight. I get it out the plight. Made equal in 2020, only now they get the vision right. Security could be airtight.